Assassin's Creed executive producer Mark Alexei Cote has revealed what the benchmark is for Assassin's Creed Shadows, as well as Star Wars Outlaws. He claims that AAA games must sell around 10 million units in order to break even due to the growing costs of creating these games. What does this tell us? This tells us that Star Wars Outlaws is a monumental, disastrous flop. Absolutely terrible. I roll this up over at fandompulse.com. You can find the link in the description below. I recommend you head over here, become a subscriber, join our mailing list, and become a paid subscriber so you will be the first to see this news. So this is what he said. He said this during an interview at XDS24. He was discussing how video game development costs are increasing year over year. And he said this: we are in a complex and tough economical situation right now, at least in the games industry. We've all seen our costs rising, our profits shrinking. In a way, there's a lot of very, very intense competition. But the cost of building games has probably increased tenfold since the first Assassin's Creed and the one that's coming out this year. Obviously, I guess he was making these comments thinking that Assassin's Creed Shadows was still coming out in 2024. So this was probably done before it was delayed to February 2025, or maybe he just misspoke there. Unclear. Because I think he did this just 2 weeks ago. At least it was uploaded 2 weeks ago. So I think they delayed it, but they delayed it after that. So unclear. Anyways, both cost, complexity, amount of people has probably risen by a factor of 10, he reiterated. When you look at who succeeds, at least in the AAA space, so what I'm going to say applies to like mostly premium games, more traditional kind of AAA games. You have 10 games in any given year that will sell about 10 million copies. The reason I'm quoting the 10 million copies kind of mark is from what I've seen and how I've seen costs, our costs, and costs of competitors and everybody. Everything leaks in our industry, so you have privileged information on where the competition is going. But mostly I estimate that 10 million copies, give or take, 2 million copies is mostly what you need to break even. So at the minimum, it's 8 million, he's saying here. But typically you need at least 10 million. Sometimes I guess it can go up to 12 million to break even. Those are absolutely monstrous numbers. And that means that Star Wars Outlaws was a monumental disaster. Remember, we thought that 5 million copies was on the conservative end because that is what Nick Dempsey of Barclays was estimating that they would sell based on Ubisoft's estimate that they were going to bring in 500 million in revenue. Well, they only brought in 351 million in revenue, and it's been rumored that they only sold 1 million copies, a fifth of what Nick Dempsey thought they were going to bring in. And he thought that number was conservative. Well, that's only half of what Mark Alexis Cote is saying that a AAA game needs to sell in order to break even. Total disaster. So they've only sold about 1 million copies. Absolute financial failure. So that's a tenth of what they needed to do. And I don't think they're really getting any significant Steam sales. We'll get to that in a little bit. It's really bad over there. Anyways, he goes on and says this: but you have only 10 games that breach that every year. He then broke down what those 10 games look like. Out of those 10, you'll have probably 3 sports games. You'll have 4 games on established franchises, Star Wars, Assassin's Creed, right? They fit in there. And probably 2 or 3 games that are surprise hits coming from nowhere. Maybe Black Myth Wukong fits in there. Obviously, I don't think it came from nowhere. I think there was obviously a lot of hype building up to that game. And obviously it did absolutely monster numbers. And then obviously you've got the FIFAs, etc., that are doing really well. And probably the shooters too. I would probably say there's probably some shooters in there. Maybe he considers those sports games because like Call of Duty, stuff like that. But that leaves very, very little room and wiggle room for success. So I'm trying to steer the Assassin's Creed franchise through that. A little bit later, he noted that Ubisoft is not only competing against other developers, but are also competing with themselves and their own back catalog. This is really interesting. He says, when you come out with an Assassin's Creed game, you're not only competing against the competition, you're competing against your own back catalog, right? So if you've released a hit game like Assassin's Creed Odyssey and you come out with a new game, but your game is 6 years old now and it still looks pretty good, it's scaled very well technologically speaking with new consoles. We released patches to make it run at 4K, etc. But you can have it for $20. He's obviously talking about Odyssey. So the $80 game, Shadows, that I come out with better be very, very good. maybe it shouldn't be full of a woke DEI agenda, that you are clearly pushing, and that is why you made Yasuke one of the main characters, and you made Naoe the other one. Clearly doing that. And it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you significantly. Because I doubt that Assassin's Creed Shadows does anywhere near 10 million units. It's likely going to look a lot like Star Wars Outlaws. So this is the benchmark. He is telling us that this game needs to sell at least 10 million units in order to break even. Assassin's Creed Shadows, 8 to 10 million units in order to break even. And we are going to find out how well this game does, because it is going to release day and date on Steam, and we're going to see where those numbers come in at. And I predict it's going to likely do around Dragon Age the Veilguard, maybe even worse, maybe a little bit better. I just don't see this game. It might not even get over 100,000. Might not even get over 100,000. But we have an idea now of what this game has to hit, and it's coming from the Assassin's Creed executive producer. He's telling us that these AAA games need to do at least between 8 to 10 million units in order to break even. So this is what we're going to hold him to. This is what he should be held to. But let's switch over to Star Wars Outlaws again here. Like I said, only sold 1 million units. I mean, this is damning. His comments are damning for Star Wars Outlaws. It only allegedly sold 1 million units. That's based on the rumor from Insider Gaming. And then when CEO Yves Guillemot was actually asked what the current sales curve was during the most recent earnings call, which was a month after that, it was like in the second month of the game in October. He was asked by this BMO investor, on Star Wars Outlaws, obviously off to a slower start than you guys wanted. Can you provide a little color into the sales curve there more recently? Have you guys started to see things pick up? Can you talk about any discounting you might be doing or strategies for discounting into the holiday period would be helpful? And Guillemot says this, on Outlaws, what we can say is that the 3 title updates that we delivered at the same time, we've been observing substantial positive community sentiment improvement. He used that comment when he was trying to hype the game up earlier in the year, and it clearly fell absolutely flat. Sales underperformed expectations, softer than expected, Ubisoft's own comments. But he's continuing to use this line like these investors don't see through it. Come on, what are you doing? The biggest update is still to come by November 21st. That's today. And it will come on the same day as the first big story pack and the launch for Steam. So we're putting ourselves in a position to have a must-play game that should address a mainstream audience for the busy season, also to be a long-term seller. That is not going to happen. This is not a long-term seller. This game is dead already. Sales are completely and utterly stagnated, and they are stagnated on Steam as well. He goes on and says it has great quality, and the team wanted to make sure that we will remove a few frictions and then implement some gameplay mechanics that will certainly delight the players. They basically threw money after bad money, and they're just burning up money. Someone who had real leadership would have been like, this is a bad idea. We are cutting our costs. We are not going to try to save this game, and we are going to just take the loss. Take the loss, move on. Find a way to recoup your costs through tax write-offs. Warner Brothers Discovery was smart enough to do that. Took an impairment charge on Suicide Squad, killed the Justice League with a tax write-off. Ubisoft maybe should have thought about doing something like that. Instead, it looks like they're deciding to throw bad money after bad money. So they're just flushing more money down the drain here rather than actually maybe like, hey, look, we need to stop this. This game isn't going to go anywhere. All of these indicators point that it's not going anywhere. I've covered all this. The Twitch stats are down. No one was playing this game on Twitch. No one's watching this game on Twitch. Complete and utter stagnation. No one is going to buy this game anymore. I mean, we see this right here. This is the Steam. This is the Steam chart. 651. That's the peak. It's already less than that. 642. This is worse than Concord right now. Worse than Concord. Let's just jump over right here and look at the live SteamDB. So it's gone up a little bit since I took that screenshot. 676 right now. Still worse than Concord. We can compare it to some other Star Wars games. Here's Star Wars Jedi Survivor. 1130. 1130. Almost double what Star Wars Outlaws is doing. Star Wars The Old Republic. 3,860. What are we, 5-6 times the number? This game is dead. This game is dead. And they're discounting this game too. Let's hop over here to the actual Steam page. Scroll down, 25% off. 25% off on all of the editions, standard, gold, and ultimate. So they have a significant discount on this game. First day it's on Steam, available to purchase. And where are we at? 676. Let's refresh. 676. This is absolutely disastrous for this game. Absolutely disastrous. 10 million, 8 to 10 million to break even. We're looking at it did 1 million in its first month, stagnated after that, and it's clearly not doing any kind of significant sales on Steam. Peaked here right now at 676, unlikely to get over 1,000. What a total disaster for Ubisoft. Well, what do you guys make of this? What do you make of Mark Alexis Cote telling us that the benchmark for a AAA game for Star Wars Outlaws, for Assassin's Creed Shadows, is 8 to 10 million units sold? And where do you think Assassin's Creed Shadows is going to do when it comes out in February? Does it get to 5 million? Does it even get to 5 million? How low will those numbers be? That is the big question. Let me know what you guys think of this. Let me know in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable, especially to each other, and to always, always speak the truth.